Mindful Living with Allie Ford and Tom O'Brien.
Sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling, yeah.
Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044. Now, Allie Ford and Tom O'Brien.
Welcome to Mindful Living, everybody, where we want to help you get healthy, feel good, and live life to the fullest every single day. I'm Allie Ford, and today we're discussing one of our favorite topics on Mindful Living, and that is meditation, a practice that since its inception thousands of years ago has been touted by its practitioners to be extremely healing, a statement which current-day scientists have proven is overwhelmingly true. We'll talk about some of the different styles of meditation, their benefits, and share some helpful tips anyone can use to get started. And here to help me with the conversation is my guest, co-host, and favorite acupuncturist in Tampa Bay, and returning guest, Dr. Gene Healy. Gene, how are you?
I'm great. It's good to see you, Allie.
Lovely to see you always. Thanks for coming today.
You're welcome.
Now, last time you were here, you were inserting needles into my scalp. Did you happen to bring your needles today?
Only my hands.
Nice. Ooh, am I going to scalp massage? That sounds even better. I have to say, though, interestingly, with you inserting the needles in my head, the only thing I felt was a little tap and then this feeling of euphoria. So I tell you one thing, I know we're talking about meditation today, but one thing I keep hearing about is this acupuncture facelift. I actually have some friends who are having it done out of state, but they say it is making such a difference, and you can really see a difference.
You can roll back the years with it. You really can.
Well, so next time you're on the show, I'm hoping you'll bring that magic bag of yours, and we'll talk about it, or I'll be coming to your office for the treatments, but we have to do a show on that. I think that sounds so fascinating.
We will, just for you.
Thank you so much. Every girl needs every little bit of help she can get.
Yeah, but look how pretty she is. Does she need that help? Come on, people.
Oh, go on. So today we're talking about meditation, and I know this is something you teach regularly, and I'm so excited to hear about the results that you're seeing with some of the work that you're doing, particularly with the cancer patients that you work with. But before we get there, you have such a rich history, which is one of the things I'm so drawn to in your practice. I mean, you studied in, I think, practiced in 8 different countries, I think you said, including India, Nepal, Korea. And you have been a practitioner for a long time, since 1995. So I want to hear about your history. How did you get into meditation?
I remember being in high school, and high school I was just a regular high school kid. I wasn't interested in those things. But as I went into college, oftentimes what happens when people go to college is they read a little bit more broadly. So I read broadly. I became very interested in kind of Eastern religions, and that was my undergrad. It's in actually it's in Eastern religions, specifically Buddhism. And I became academically interested, but I didn't practice so much. There's a big difference between knowing your books and actually sitting on the cushion and doing something.
Of course.
So then I became personally interested, and I started meditating in about 1995. And I really kind of flowered with the meditation once I went over to Asia, because it's much more part of the culture.
Yeah. Now, so when you first started, it was self-study out of books, or were you going to like a center?
It was both. You know, it was out of books mostly for my classes. It was academic. And then there was a Zen center, and there still is, in Tallahassee, Florida. I'm a Seminole. All you Gators, you're allowed to watch, but that's all.
Good to know, though. I think it's really helpful to know about centers. People are always looking for people who are curious about meditation. It's helpful to go to a center.
It really is. That's one of the tips we're going to talk about later. It really is helpful. It brings a lot of regularity to your life and structure, and creates a good habit.
Great. So then you went to Asia, and you started going to study at Zen centers, or tell me about that.
I did. It's very interesting. It's a little bit different. It's culturally entrenched. You go to these big, beautiful temples in the mountains. It's like what you see on TV, misty mountains and temples and monks and waking up early and all of that. So it's aesthetically really rich and beautiful.
Right.
But the experience of actually meditating there, it's a different kind of experience. Oftentimes there's not a lot of language translation, so it's difficult. So in the beginning, the first meditation retreat I did was in a foreign language temple in South Korea. It's a Zen temple, and it was all done in English, so it was really user-friendly.
Right.
And that was really interesting. And I remember after I did my first week, I went in there and I signed on for a week. And you've done a lot of yoga and meditation. You've done a lot of detoxing, right?
Yes.
So you know the experience, what it's like to detox. When you detox, your body kind of cleans out, your senses become vibrant, your mind becomes clear. And when you do meditation for 8-9 hours a day, the same kind of thing happens, but it's also like a spiritual detox. There's a certain kind of mental vomiting and spiritual vomiting that occurs as you start to kind of clean out from the inside out. So that was a very useful experience. And since then, I've done like several of them in lots of different areas, lots of different countries.
Right. So that's one thing I think a lot of people, think about when it comes to meditation. Do I need to retreat to the mountains? I mean, there's definitely benefit in going retreats. You have a focus on the practice and less distraction, and you have that opportunity to really dedicate yourself to the practice. In looking for a retreat center, how did you find one? I mean, what were your requirements? What were you looking for?
It's called Google. These days, everything's on Google.
It's true. We say that all the time. Google is amazing.
It's the oracle. That's true. So you can Google essentially anything. If you're looking for meditation center, if you have a particular style, like I do a lot of Zen practice, or you could do Vipassana, whatever, you just type it up and type up the area, and it'll give you a list of all the places you can go to. And if it's not on the list, there are things, but it might be difficult. They might not have English language or something like that.
Right. So you chose the Zen style?
In Korea. Korea has a very rich and strong history of Zen practice, so I've done a lot of Zen practice there. But I do have a wide background of lots of different styles, but Zen is kind of like my main practice discipline.
What's the cornerstone of Zen meditation?
The cornerstone of Zen meditation.
Or as a platform?
I would say it's this don't know mind. Zen meditation is particularly interested. When you look at different kinds of meditation, they all try to accomplish something, and they have different techniques. But Zen really tries to use and have people experience this point of emptiness. This point of emptiness is this kind of like foundationlessness of our lives. It's kind of scary to really kind of lean into. So when you can lean into that, this kind of like groundless ground, and open yourself up to that experience, it can be a very penetrating, deep experience. And then with that, we stop being so attached to all our biases and our preconceived notions, and then with that, you can have a richer, more full appreciation of your everyday moment. Like right now, seeing you, being on internet, and this is all weird, and it's all cool at the same time.
It is different and new, moment to moment. Yeah, that fresh perspective that meditation can help provide. So was meditation something that you took to right away, or did it take some practice and work? I mean, did you see immediate benefit personally?
I have to say it was really hard for me. There are some things that are really beneficial. People think like if you're particularly smart or talented, maybe you really take to it, but that's often not the case. I was academically minded, and I was doing well in school, and all of that book study was actually a detriment to me. I thought I really knew what I was doing, and then I sat down to meditate, and it was really hard for me, I have to say. I just had to force myself through a lot of uncomfortable moments to finally actually get to the point where I could do it and start to enjoy it and have some revelations, we'll say.
Which is such a great metaphor for life, And I think it's interesting that you say, you take the academic mind to the practice, which can cause just overthinking and analyzing, which is a little bit less of what we want in meditation. And I think it was Suzuki Roshi, a Zen master, who said beginner's mind.
That's correct. He wrote the famous book.
One of my favorite quotes, and I think it's really helpful in all that we do moment to moment, that in the beginner's mind there are many opportunities, in the expert's mind there are few.
That's correct.
And to bring that perspective to everything. So then, from Zen, was this the only retreat that you've gone to, or have you tried other retreat centers? You mentioned Vipassana, and that I know that Vipassana around the world is gaining more and more momentum, and has been a really popular style of meditation. There are several retreat centers here in the United States. Have you gone on Vipassana retreat?
I have. One of my more colorful retreats was a Vipassana retreat. I was in India.
More colorful.
Well, I guess it's colorful because it's exotic.
India.
I was in India, and I went to India, and it was at Bodh Gaya. It's the seat of the Buddha's enlightenment.
Oh, wow.
So they have a big stupa there, and lots of pilgrims who are going there for pilgrimage. And I went there like right after the Buddha's enlightenment day, and I went and I shaved my head. I took robes and formal vows. I was a monk for a week.
Wow.
And I was doing a Vipassana meditation half day, and the other half a day I was doing this charity acupuncture at this local clinic, so I was combining the two. And that was particularly interesting, but my first day in India, people have all these preconceived notions about India. But it can be hard living in India, you know.
Right.
So I go there, and you're given a room, and I thought it would be like the other retreat centers I've been to. You had a room, it's warm, and it's simple. But I had a cement block with like a little flat thing above the cement and 1 million mosquitoes.
Oh, wow.
It was terrible.
Where did you sleep? What were you sleeping on?
It was like a flat piece of wood that was elevated off the ground, and I had a sleeping bag.
Oh, my goodness.
And these mosquitoes just came to me all night long, and it was horrendous. It was my own little mosquito hell. So the whole first night, I had to go outside, and they have meditation tents.
Right.
So I sat in this meditation tent. I could see the Mahabodhi, the stupa, from where we were.
Wow.
And I had to stay up all night because I couldn't go inside because of mosquitoes.
Oh, my
It
goodness.
was my whole first day, and I was jet-lagged. It was terrible, but it's interesting.
Talk about suffering.
It was a little bit of suffering.
And you were there, was that a 10-day retreat?
I was there for a month.
Oh, my goodness. And so now, one of my goals is to go on Vipassana retreat for 10 days. And it's a silent retreat. So were you speaking for the month, or?
I spoke during the second half because I got special privileges to go do the medical care, to do acupuncture. So during the first half I was silent, and everybody else is silent, unless you actually have to speak. You know, people cheat.
Right.
But most people, if they're very diligent, they'll write stuff down.
Okay. So what would you say are some of the benefits of going on silent retreat? Now, I love this topic because many of my friends, students, girlfriends, you know, when you mention the word being silent for more than an hour, some people are just shocked, floored that that's not a possibility for them. And to imagine something like 2, 3, maybe 10 days of silence. Why do people do this?
It can be life-changing, actually, even for a week for some people, even for a day for some people. But we lose so much of our energy, and we spend too much time essentially thinking about unnecessary things, and then we communicate those things. So if we're a little bit more simple and we say less and do less, all this energy goes somewhere, it goes to your body. So you feel stronger and fresher and revitalized, and then when you actually speak, it's amazing how pleasurable it is.
Wow.
Speaking is a pleasurable experience to communicate something back and forth, and you just notice every word, every sound. So silent retreat, it's the same. It's a little bit like getting a hamster wheel in your head to slow down. And you can do that much more effectively when you're not feeding it by talking.
It's beautifully said, because our thoughts become our words and our actions. And like you said, if there's a lot of sort of junk that may not only be not useful but potentially damaging, then why put it out there? And isn't it a Buddha saying that said, speak only if it improves the silence?
That's correct.
I think about that. As difficult as it may be, it would provide such introspection. The longest I've done is 3 days. So it is my goal to go to the 10-day. I think it would be so life-changing.
How are you going to do that with your kids?
Yeah, it's difficult. You know, I have a very supportive husband, thank you. And he, you know, as a health and wellness practitioner and teacher, it's so important that we do our own practice and fill ourselves up because, you know, you cannot give from an empty well. So when I need to go and study or go on retreat, he's very supportive. And luckily, sometimes the in-laws are here. They come for half a year from Ohio, and they help with the children. So that's the only reason it's possible. I feel very blessed. But that's a really good point. Like you said, you know, I think a lot of people have difficulty or make excuses for finding the time, you know, even if it's just 20 minutes a day. So I think it's important that we find a way, whether it's, you know, going for 3 days or 2 days to study or practice or to learn something new or just some quiet time in our own house. It's important.
It's very important. I would say it's maybe paramount, something that's required. If you have kids, there are creative options. There really are. Everybody has 5 minutes somewhere. And also these days they have retreats where you can take your families, where they have special programs for kids and everything.
Beautiful, beautiful. I cannot wait to come back. We're going to hear more about Dr. Healy's practice of incorporating meditation into his acupuncture practice. Stay with us.
quiet markets, investors search for new trading opportunities. We'd like to introduce you to a new product that provides opportunities even in flat markets. Nadex, the North American Derivatives Exchange, is a new and innovative Chicago-based exchange registered with the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, and unlike most other exchanges, Nadex allows you to trade directly through them with direct market access when using their trading platform. Nadex never charges a fee to use their platform, which even includes real-time charts and full customization capability. Nadex's unique short-term binary options allow traders and investors to capitalize on strategies even when the underlying markets are quiet. Nadex's innovation has allowed them to come up with a line of unique trading products that are unavailable anywhere else. See how it works at nadex.com. That's NADEX.com, or click on the Nadex banner on the front page of TFNN.com. Futures and options trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for all investors.
We're told to follow our passion and everything else will fall into place. I hope that's what each of you are doing each and every day. Hi, I'm Steve Rhodes, host of the Money Master Show at TFNN.com, and my passion for technical analysis is what led me to the most fundamental discovery in pattern recognition, the Rhodes Momentum Indicator, market scanner, and trading strategy, a set of tools that identify the momentum and power of the trend, the likes of which have never been seen before, for every market and every time frame. Yes, folks, the trend is your friend, unless you're on the other side. New to technical analysis? This is the place to start. And experienced traders, take advantage of the trend like never before. Experience the power of the Rhodes Momentum Indicator each day, available to subscribers of my newsletter service, Mastering Probability. I guarantee your satisfaction for the next 30 days unconditionally, so there's no risk to you other than being on the wrong side of the trend. Mastering Probability, available on the homepage of TFNN.com. And folks, live with passion.
No matter where you listen to TFNN programming, we want you to know you can always access your favorite shows on demand through TFNN.com. TFNN airs live programming every market day from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. Eastern, and you can view each program by accessing Tiger TV through our homepage. We even have an easy link for all mobile devices, including iPhones and iPads, located at the top right-hand corner of the TFNN homepage. You can use your smartphone to view Tiger TV, but if you don't have a mobile connection that can keep up with streaming live video, then you can simply visit TFNN.mobi in the browser of your smartphone for live streaming audio of all of our programs. The mission of TFNN is to educate our audience directly and interactively through our interactive website and radio call and talk shows. TFNN is able to teach all levels of investors the technical skills needed to trade in today's marketplace. In order to get the best information possible, TFNN has assembled the most respected financial minds in the country to provide the most current news and comprehensive advice available. TFNN.com. Educating investors. Yesterday's gone. Tomorrow's not here. What are you doing right now? Mindful Living with Allie Ford and Tom O'Brien.
Oh, sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling, yeah.
Yes, Dr. Gene Healy is singing Got a Good Feeling. It's such a catchy tune.
It sure is.
I do have a good feeling. I love talking about meditation and hearing about this wonderful practice. So we're coming back now to your personal practice and your experiences, which is vast and so interesting. What would you say is or are some of the major benefits you've seen personally?
Personally, I would say, not just personally, I would say for all people, the mind, the human mind, it works the same for everybody, so to a large extent. What happens and what can happen with meditation is there can be an embracing of things, and sometimes things that are difficult. For example, I remember you were asking me during the break, just to repeat the story, I remember when my mom was passing, and I was having this experience. It's a difficult experience with anybody. You see your parent passing, and I was there for all of it. Till the end. And during that process, there's a lot of closing off and regret and all kinds of things that go on with everybody. But the more you're aware of it, your mind is aware of all these arisings. I would meditate next to her bed, and when it was too intense, I would do a physical practice like prostrations. I would bow because there's just too much of anxiety around. And then when it gets closer to the end, it's like a roller coaster, right? Because you kind of feel like it's coming down. You can see it happen.
Right.
But there's this still kind of like embracing openness about it. And after the initial kind of freak out because you know you're going to go down the roller coaster, there's a few interesting qualities that you cultivate when you meditate. There's like a curiosity, like a what's next kind of experience. So I became very curious about the experience, to really watch it with this kind of like non-judgmental, curious lens. And from that, I have to say, it might have been one of the most important experiences of my life. And those qualities, I have to say, probably are a direct result of having meditated. Otherwise, I would have just been anxious, freaked out, and went into a closet and rocked myself to sleep.
Right, yeah. Oh, gosh. I mean, what an experience, you know, and to experience it in that way, so presently, as opposed to, as you said, in this whirlwind of emotion and not really being there to witness those last very precious moments with your loved one in a pure way, you know, and be with everything that's rising, but not taken away by what's rising. So amazing and just beautiful.
Well, beautiful. I wish that for you and for everybody, to be able to have that experience with the most dear people in our lives.
Right. And I think it's such another really good example of what you're saying meditation can help you with, and that is, you know, to be present with what is, whether it's easy or whether it's difficult, that it allows you to experience everything with maybe a bit more equanimity. So powerful, so very powerful. And that brings me now to the work that you're doing currently with meditation in your practice. How are you incorporating meditation into the work that you do through your acupuncture business or practice?
Currently I teach a lot of one-on-one. I teach at a couple different sites. I teach at Sublime Yoga in Dunedin, and I also teach at Florida Cancer Specialists. We do yoga there, meditation there. And because I've been interested in meditation, it's like a passion project of mine. It doesn't pay the bills.
Right.
You know, nobody's going to get rich off meditation. But I enjoy doing it so much, and I think it's there's no way to really address the whole person without addressing the mind.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you, is this something people are asking for, or do you present it to them as an adjunct to their healing practice?
I call my business Root Healing Acupuncture and Wellness. So I'm always interested in that, the root of an issue. And the root is always essentially a combination of physical things and psycho-spiritual things going on together.
Mind-body connection, very related.
They're inextricable. So as you work on a person, of course, people come in with physical ills, and I work on them, but then a lot of them have emotional components or definitely mental components. And with that, you just mention things. I always offer. I don't push anything. I say that these things are offered if you'd like to work with this and that. And people become interested, and they take these extra classes. And because of this extra interest of mine, I'm actually expanding soon to a larger space. And one of the main motivators was for me to have a central space so I could offer meditation more often. So we're going to offer it 4 times a week. We'll have intensives. And with this, people will have a place to go, which is very useful in the beginning and for a long time during your practice.
Definitely. I can definitely second that. And that will be in downtown Dunedin,
It
Florida.
will be right across from the hospital.
Exciting. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
That's wonderful news. So let me ask you, when you are presenting meditation to beginners or to people who, because let's face it, there are many people who have preconceived notions or misconceptions about what it is. So if they're brand new or if they push back with some wrong ideas as to what it is, what do you tell them, a beginner?
Generally, I start beginners with kind of mindfulness practice. I teach a variety of styles, from mindfulness to Zen to more personalized techniques. But I often start with mindfulness, and there's no religious baggage to any of the language that I use.
Right.
And a lot of people do have a lot of misconstrued ideas about meditation. Essentially, it means just like a one-pointed focus.
Yes.
And that's a kind of meditation. That is a concentration practice.
Right.
But I always try to steer them back into the ability to kind of be present with themselves, this awareness practice, and how to bridge that into their everyday lives. So it's not just something you do when you're at a class, but something you do all the time.
Right, when washing the dishes, when driving your car, when having a conversation.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you are teaching this at Florida Cancer Specialists. What types of feedback and results are you seeing there?
It's a little bit slower because I get a lot of patients there for acupuncture because they're very intimately interested in their body.
Right.
But the mental portion, a lot of cancer patients are exhausted. You know, it's a difficult, tiring experience.
Right.
So when it comes to the meditation portion, some, they like to come, and we were offering it at different sites every month. And I noticed that people would always say, great, when's the next class? And when you say this at a different site, it would just be inconvenient for them.
Sure.
So we just do it at one site now here in Largo on Highland, and we do it every Wednesdays. And with that, we started to build a little core group.
Great.
And with that, what happens is cancer, you know, they have more immediate pressing issues. It's a little different than me and you. We might be meditating and thinking about the evening dinner or the fight you had with your daughter.
Right.
But
who's only 6, so maybe someone else.
Okay. I'm disagreeing with
You
him.
say, yes, no, it happens. There's, you know, we're both estrogen, so there are some emotions there.
I'm sure. But this experience, like, for example, with cancer, it's essentially a mortality issue. So people don't want to think about those things. Cancer patients, they think about, I need to stay strong, I only need to stay strong, and they're afraid to even admit the fact that they could die.
Yeah.
So you don't want to tell them you're going to die and that you could die. You want them to fight and want them to be strong.
Sure.
But you also want them to essentially embrace every aspect of life, and that being one of it, the possible and the ultimate mortality of it. So I don't bring those things up. But with the kind of mindfulness meditation, whatever does come up, and in a safe environment, you can just kind of see it, let it go, return to your breath, return to people. And with that, you can release some of this anxiety associated with it.
Definitely. So you're having a good group now, build and come to the classes?
Slowly, slowly.
Good. It's wonderful. Yeah, there has been, and there is continuing to be more great research on using meditation and other mindfulness practices for chronic illness and serious illnesses. So I know you said you were actually going to be doing a study soon.
We're doing a study. This is not a meditation-based study, but it's a coupling with USF and Florida Cancer Specialists. We're going to do a study with acupuncture and its effect on neuropathy, chemotherapy-induced neuropathy. Press release has not been released yet. I'm jumping the gun. Don't get mad at me. Don't tell anybody. We're going to release it next week, probably.
When you say neuropathy, just define that, please.
It's essentially some kind of symptoms, often in the arms and legs, the hands and feet most often, that involves some kind of nerve issue that like tingling, pain, numbness, something like that. This is most of the time due to chemotherapy with the patients that I see there, but other patients get it from diabetes, or you can get it from many different other reasons. But we're having such good success, and it's one of those areas that there's just not a lot of help from their typical Western practices. There's a few drugs to try to numb the pain, but very little to really help it, and we're having pretty good success with it.
Beautiful. Yeah, acupuncture, again, firm believer. I just think it's wonderful that you're helping the patients, and it's if you could help us all, cancer or not.
Don't worry, we're coming back to take the wrinkles out.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to that.
I don't even have any wrinkles.
Oh, come on. Gravity's a very strong force. I'm not in denial. I'm present with it. Not that I don't want to change it sometimes. So coming back to meditation now, one of the things that is, I think, difficult for people in the beginning is they set these lofty goals. You know, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to meditate for 20 minutes. Where do you start people?
The first thing I say to people is that they should have some structure. Structure really helps, and often a group is particularly useful because it pushes you past your resistances. You know, if you might sit 5 minutes at home before you turn on the TV, in a group you're kind of stuck to sit out whatever, the 10, 20, 30 minutes. You have to be there. You're too embarrassed to get up and leave.
I agree. I definitely feel that way. I feel like when you sit with a group, you know, you, like you said, you want to move or fidget, but you know the people around you are being still and quiet, so you're going to stay a little longer, a little more focus. It feels like a collective hand of consciousness just supporting you there together. It's nice. So that's one of the, I hear a lot of people who say, you know, I started meditation and I gave up. And I think it is sometimes because people, you know, set themselves up for failure. So I'm looking forward to your helpful tips that anyone can use. So let's talk about some of the other benefits that meditation offers, because we're obviously, you know, practitioners, huge proponents of this practice. Benefits are physical.
Oh, for sure.
So you're looking at management of chronic pain. You're seeing that with some of the cancer patients? Have they mentioned that to you?
That and more. We can talk about that soon after the break.
Coming back. Stay with us. You can find out more about Dr. Healy at his website, roothealingcenter.com. We'll be right back.
take a hands-on approach to managing your investment strategy. You're always looking for the next trading opportunity to magnify your perspective. Direction Shares connects sophisticated traders with a powerful array of ETFs from a wide range of asset classes. The markets may go up and down, and you want tools for both sides of the trade. Discover how we can help at DirectionShares.com today. An investor should consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the Direction Shares carefully before investing. The prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction Shares. To obtain a prospectus or summary prospectus, please contact Direction Shares at 800-851-0511. The prospectus or summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. The funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors employing dynamic strategies. Investors in the fund should understand the consequences of seeking daily investment results, understand the risk of shorting, and intend to actively monitor and manage their investments. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
Who says you can't take it with you? TFNN says you can. With your mobile device and TFNN's live radio streams, TFNN has put it all in the palm of your hands. No special apps to download. No subscription fees for live radio or Tiger TV streams. We say you can.
Now let's go over to the dollar, because the dollar is going to be the generator. It is the generator of basically higher dollar, lower market. And what the dollar has done, and this whole uptrend, folks, has just gone sideways. The way it works, folks, is this.
We say you can. The Tiger Financial News Network. Smart investors and professional traders know you can. TFNN.com. Educating investors. Life is a mystery to be lived, not a problem to be solved. Mindful Living with Allie Ford and Tom O'Brien.
Oh, sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling, yeah.
Welcome back to Mindful Living, everybody. We're just talking about the amazing, magnificent practice of meditation available to all with Dr. Gene Healy, acupuncturist of Dunedin, Florida, and RootHealingCenter.com. So, top benefits that you're seeing with your patients specifically as a result of meditation?
Okay, specifically as a result of meditation, they sleep better.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, overall sense of well-being is better, more presence in life, an ability to not resist as much their pain and suffering, you know, which we're all going to have.
Mm-hmm.
So those are all really good benefits. In the past, it depends on how seriously you take your practice. I have been to a few retreats where I've seen people sit for very long periods of time, and there's been spontaneous healing, where people have illness for decades, and at that point they just sit through it to the point where there's a huge release, and they're better.
Yeah.
These kinds of things can happen with the right amount of perseverance.
And you have to believe that, you know. This is, I mean, the connection between mind, body is true. Even modern-day scientists are reporting that 60 to 90% of all doctors' visits are as a result of stress, which begins in the mind.
Mm-hmm.
So they're psychosomatic illnesses. So to your point, it makes so much sense. And all of those benefits would be helpful for anyone, whether you're fighting disease or if you just need, you know, better sleep or overall increased joy and wellness in your life. Why not give it a try?
Why not?
Why not?
It doesn't cost you anything.
Exactly. So, what are your top benefits for people who are looking to get started? Or benefits, I'm sorry, tips, helpful tips.
We have several. I have a list. Here we go. Number one. It's like a Dave's countdown. There's regularity. I think regularity is very important, maybe kind of like the cornerstone. We've mentioned joining a group. If you can, that can be particularly useful. You don't have to subscribe to a particular set of beliefs or anything, but like I said, the structure can really help to make a good pattern, make a good habit. Often what happens in life is essentially we have a whole bunch of habits that are probably not doing us a lot of good. So we need to combat those bad habits with good habits to some extent. So put yourself in a regular setting and go meditate, you know, even if you spend a short amount of time, and those good habits will carry you through these resistances, and with that you'll be more open to the rest of it.
So regularity, place, time of day, right?
That's true, all of those things. Place is also very important. You know, you don't have to be in a group. Not everybody's a social animal, we'll say. Some people want to be the lone yogi.
Sure.
If you want to do that, let's say you had a place you liked in your house. You could have a little sacred space. You can go do that there. If you had a park or someplace you liked, you can go do that there too. You find a place, and if you go to the same place, it also creates this pattern.
Yeah. Okay. Beautiful.
Yeah. So you have regularity, you have a setting. Time is also very useful. They say the best time to meditate is often in the morning and the evening. And if you can make this kind of habit, you don't have to do it long. Let's say you had a little timer, and you said, I'm going to meditate 20 minutes in the morning and the evening. Well, it would be wonderful if you stuck to that the rest of your life. But if you can't, you still go to your secret place, your sacred place.
Oh, I love that, your secret place.
You go there. And then you set your timer, and if you sit for only 5 minutes or 5 seconds, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
But you keep doing it. You make yourself crawl to that cushion, and you try it. And if you give up, it's okay, because you got a whole nother day the next day.
Yeah, but I like that. You know, keep trying, because chances are that you'll stick with it are better, and chances are that maybe you get better at it and can stay for longer each time you try will grow.
That's correct.
Okay, so regularity, place and time.
All right. Oh, practice in life, not just in your meditation. This is, I think, is particularly important because a lot of people, they meditate and they have a practice that they do only when they're at their group.
Yeah.
But you have to find a way not to compartmentalize your practice, but to make it a part of your life, because ultimately that's the goal. Like, what good is your meditation if it really is only for 30 minutes a week?
Right.
How much is that serving you and the rest of your life?
Exactly.
So if you can find a practice, there's lots of them. Mindfulness practices you can do, labeling practices you can do a mantra, you can do like an everyday Zen kind of practice. There's lots you can do to really, because we're busy people.
Yeah.
You got your daughter screaming at you.
Yeah,
and your
my
life,
son.
And your son. You have to be able to meditate while you're talking to them and the whole back and forth of it.
Yeah, that's a really good tip, because I think it can be helpful before you even begin to remember why you're doing it. That it is, you know, something that should carry over into your daily life and moment-to-moment experience.
Yeah, it's for the benefits that you were talking about earlier. People, we talk about large benefits like enlightenment and finishing our life quest. This is ultimately true. It's something that we want to do. But at the same time, you know, our relationships get better.
Right.
This is the grist for the mill. This is the stuff that we work on the hardest work.
Yeah.
You know, those improve. You do better at your job. People like you more.
Right.
And you enjoy life more. You know, that all sounds like good stuff to me.
I agree. Sign me up. It's true. I think, like you said, when you're practicing meditation and everything that you do, particularly when it comes to relationships, and we've talked a lot about that on this show, you're more present for the people in your life. You're able to really give them your full attention and hear what they're saying and listen, you know, not just listen, but really hear it in your heart. It's lovely. Okay.
So we'll give you a few more. We have 4 now. Actually, something that I guess you do when you go to a group, they always talk about posture, but posture is particularly useful.
Yes.
It's useful to sit down, because everybody likes to do lying meditation, but that's essentially sleeping meditation.
Right. It's difficult to lie down and
is.
meditate, yes.
It's a very advanced practice. It's an advanced practice. So I think sitting is particularly useful because it's just the easiest posture. It's kind of like meditation 101.
Yeah.
It's the easiest posture to kind of remain alert and to stay for a long period of time.
Yeah.
People think that it's hard, but let me challenge you. You do an hour of sitting, you try to do an hour of standing meditation. Tell me which one's harder.
Oh, yeah. I opt for
hard
the
to stand.
seated. Yeah. Well, and I think that's important to break down some of the things you look for in your posture, because this is definitely one of the biggest challenges for people, to be comfortable, and that's the operative word, right? A lot of people think that you have to sit, you know, in a cross-legged position on the ground, like the Buddhist monks, for hours a day. Which is not the case.
Not the case.
Yeah, so in fact you probably have well, I know the patients at FCS, Florida Cancer Specialists, are in chairs.
They all sit in chairs.
Exactly, so opt for a chair. And general alignment for the body, feet about hip-width apart, on the ground if possible.
That's good. Keep the back a little bit straight, not too tense, but a little bit straight. Shoulders relaxed, you know, the eyes looking a little bit down, chin a little bit tucked. Essentially, you just keep a little bit erect. This erect thing is very important because once you start to slouch, you start to fantasize.
Yeah.
Once you start to tilt your head up and drift up, you start to fantasize.
Again, the body-mind connection.
That's
that
true.
Oftentimes the qualities in the body will be present in the mind. So let's talk about eyes open or closed.
Both are great. Different schools have different things to say about that, but often for beginners I tell them to keep their eyes open.
Okay.
You can keep your eyes closed, but it's more difficult because you start to drift off and fantasize. And it's a lot easier for people to keep their eyes closed sometimes because it just feels more comfortable.
Right.
But I recommend generally about like half open, quarter open, like a soft focus, looking about 45 degrees at the ground. I recommend that for a long time. And then when you feel more comfortable, you can experiment. You can do things like close your eyes and see. But put yourself on a timer and see what happens with your eyes open and eyes closed. Believe me, you fantasize more with your eyes closed in the beginning and for quite a while in your practice.
Well, and some people say with their eyes open, it's difficult not to look around or wander and use the information that you take in through your eyes to drive the mind thinking.
True, too.
So that's when you say it can be really helpful to maybe softly close the eyes. But just be aware that, yeah, you may have visions and that can also stimulate thinking. And
that's correct.
All right. So posture's key. The straight spine is very important. If one is beginning a meditation practice and this is causing pain, maybe some pillows behind the back, softening the shoulders down. And you know, it's interesting how you talked about the relation of the chin, because in yoga this is also talked about that when you lower the chin, it can perhaps bring in a sense of humility, but if you allow the spine to round, that can bring in a sleepiness. If the chin is up, it can stimulate overthinking of the mind almost to sort of the ego perspective.
That's correct.
Very interesting. Okay. All right. So posture's key. And I will say, as we said, you have to find a comfortable posture. Otherwise, your body will be screaming at you, and then you can't calm or focus the mind because all you can think about is how uncomfortable you are.
Well, ultimately, that's going to have to be addressed. But in the beginning, you do want to be comfortable because you don't want, if it's an unpleasant experience, it's easy to kind of put it aside and say, I don't want to do it, it's too uncomfortable. So you want it to be comfortable. But ultimately, like the discomfort of sitting in any position for a long period of time is a wonderful teacher. It's wonderful to bump up against this resistance to pain or boredom and all of those things. And it's actually necessary. Because we can all meditate when the circumstances are beautiful. But we have to be able to be yogis in the marketplace.
Yes, true. I think it was Deepak Chopra who said one should be able to meditate in downtown Times Square, though you may not want to start there. I love, though, that you said that. It is important to learn to be comfortable, if you will, with discomfort, to learn that, you know, that is a fact of life. But I do think, too, you know, beginning with a comfortable position gives you a little better chance to stay.
That's true.
And develop that resilience that's necessary. Otherwise, you just want to fidget the whole time or actually give up and walk away.
I agree completely.
All right, so posture, key.
All right, 3 more actually. I got 8 on the list, top 8. So another one I think can be particularly useful is to find a teacher.
Yes.
Being in a group is useful. You have support and people talk to each other and you can learn a lot from other people's experience. A teacher can be particularly useful because they can guide you through the waters, the little labyrinth of your mind. And it's also an area to be a little bit careful about because there's a lot of wonderful teachers out there, but there's a lot of not so wonderful teachers out there.
Yes. So what do you look for when you're looking for a teacher?
Humility. You look for humility, you look for a clearness and a presence of mind, and they're addressing essentially you. So if you come in and you have questions and the teacher, you can see that they see where your mind is stuck, and they try to unstuck you, as opposed to painting these glorious visions of the Holy Land, or talking about I did this and I did that and I sat with this famous person and all this kind of stuff. It should be essentially about like, how can you help me become more me, as opposed to how can you help me become more you.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, it's so important to find a good teacher and to address some of the things that come up because, let's face it, things will come up. And to be able to go to a source in whom you can confide and who has the experience is really so valuable.
It's very true, you know. So it's essentially just like a person who's walked the road. So they have a blueprint, a map to some extent. And there are lots of little roads you can take that you can waste years of your life. I remember like the first big experience from a teacher. He was useful for me, a monk in Korea. I remember I was sitting my first retreat and I had a lovely experience and very calm presence, and I saw this light in my head and I was like, oh, this is very special. I'm doing something really interesting and special. And I saw this monk And he said, I go, oh, you just found a happy place in your brain. Let that go. Keep going. And he probably saved me, I don't know, maybe some people spend years in this happy place in their mind. They find a little bit of light and peace, and they think this is the point of it.
Right.
And they could waste a large portion of their life. And in that one sentence, he saved me all that time, and I just kept moving.
Yeah, amazing that he saw that just by being in your presence or looking at you.
He knows that that's not the ultimate end road. He's just been to the end, or towards the end.
That brings up another question. Do you have these conversations when your students ask you, what's the ultimate goal? What is your answer?
Well, a lot of people don't ask, because a lot of people think that the idea of enlightenment or something like that is something for the books. It's always such a large experience that they can't really contemplate it or understand it. So a lot of people don't ask, but some people do. They are very earnest and they're very curious, and some people are ego-driven to find out. But the ultimate goal essentially is to be more us, to be more fully human, and to resolve the mystery of our lives in life and death. So we use these words like enlightenment, and enlightenment essentially is like a deep, penetrating experience into the reality of life. And with that, you use larger words like nirvana. And nirvana and these words, they start to demarcate where we stop grasping onto this ego grasping. So that's a little bit too much theory, but the point is to more fully be present, to more fully be open, and to yield to this process of living, which is groundless. And scary because it's groundless.
Yeah, and it's kind of full circle too, because it's, I think, interesting to know that that's the goal, and then though to allow yourself to be in the practice and then be in the present moment without looking toward that goal, attaching to that goal, because then you're not here.
It can be a distraction for sure. It's useful as a motivation because it gives you something to strive for, but when you really become attached to it, it becomes a strong attachment, and it can cause you lots of suffering.
Yeah.
I've seen lots of people hold on to this. They think, oh, I got to get enlightened, and they struggle so hard, and they just get sick.
Yeah.
They just try so hard for this thing that they can't really yield to the process of being alive.
Yeah.
And the barometer, I think the thing that always keeps you going straight is like this humility and trying to be of service to others. If you're too much in your head, if you're striving too much for your goal, go help somebody out.
Yeah.
It's going to keep you centered. It's going to make sure that you're going the right way.
Right. Yeah. So wonderful. Oh, I love it. So, did you give us all your...
Oh my God, two more. Do you have time?
We have to get through those pointers.
Try a retreat. I think it's a useful thing to do. They have them everywhere now. They're particularly useful. It's kind of like doing a detox. Because you do lots of detoxes, you could eat good food your whole life and you're going to be healthy. But if you do a detox once, what you'll experience is this rapid cleansing. So going to a retreat, even if it's for a day, it's kind of like a turbo. You just get a lot done in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
So it can be useful.
So when you're suggesting retreat, now obviously it's going to be very personal what you're up for. What would you recommend people start with? 2-3 days? Or dive in and go for a month in a tent like you did?
That would be great. Whatever you're particularly drawn to do. I think a good way to start off slow is you can just go to like a half day.
Yeah.
You just do a couple hours.
Yeah, that's great.
Those schedules are easy to follow. You sit like 30 minutes, you walk, you're always walking, you're not too uncomfortable. And the half day will give you meditate, let's say, you're 20 minutes for a month, and then the level of calm and depth that you feel is kind of paled by after just 2 hours on one day.
Right.
Because you went that much more against your resistances and had to yield to them.
Yes, very good tip. Start slowly. Start slowly and set yourself up for quote-unquote success. That is to, not burn out too quickly or feel that you're not cut out for this, because frankly, it's for everyone.
It is for everyone.
Just have to start the right way with a good teacher. And your final tip is?
Final tip. Perseverance. We need to persevere. A lot of people tell me they can't meditate. They say, oh, I'm no good at this, I don't have a talent for it, or whatever reasoning they use.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, more important than talent in this life is perseverance. I'll tell you a quick story. Do you know about King Arthur?
No.
Okay.
Well, do I know about? I mean, I've heard of King Arthur, but I couldn't tell you a story.
It's okay. There's lots of myths, and there's a holy grail
Except for
involved.
Sir Lancelot. Yeah, wait a second.
Everybody knows Lancelot.
I saw the movie, Excalibur.
There you go. You know the basic storyline.
Of course.
So the point is that Arthur got sick and the land got sick, England got sick, and they had to find the Holy Grail to heal them. And he sent all his knights to go find the Holy Grail. And with that, there's lots of famous stories. But none of the famous knights, the talented knights, found the Holy Grail. The knight that actually found the Holy Grail, his name was Percival. Percival, it's the same root word as perseverance.
Wow.
So this perseverance is particularly important, and often maybe the most important quality, the ability to kind of like keep putting yourself out there. Meditation is not just sitting on the cushion. Putting yourself out there is the rest of life also. Putting yourself out there to be genuine, to be sincere. These qualities cannot be overlooked, how important they are.
Right. Persevering, you know, it's interesting. My grandfather had this poem on his wall that my grandmother gave to me when he passed, and it was about the man who wins the race. It's not the strongest or the fastest man, that eventually the man who wins is the man who thinks he can, because he's trying.
That's correct.
And yeah, it's a very good point, just to not give up. I will say that in mindfulness practices, you have so many different ways to practice meditation. And you mentioned this at the beginning of our conversation, that, you know, you could make a conversation with someone in meditation. You know, whatever activity at hand, if you're focused and completely there mentally and fully, that too can be a meditation. Because some people may say, boy, that sitting meditation I just will not do, right? It has to take, I think, a willingness to give it a try, right?
It definitely does. Oftentimes when it's too difficult, I recommend a physical practice first, like do your yoga or do Tai Chi, go to the gym. Do a physical practice, after which you kind of burn off some of that energy so you're a little more settled. And with mindfulness practice, I'll give you a little tip. So what we do with mindfulness, there's lots of more involved practices with mindfulness, but essentially a lot of meditation does the breath. You follow, it's a physical experience of breathing. And then with that, it's this non-judgmental approach to all this mental stuff that happens. So as this happens, what you can do, a useful practice is a labeling practice. So a labeling is just kind of seeing things that are happening, like your thinking experience, and you just label it thinking, and then you just let it go and return to what you're doing, which is breathing. Your rising and falling of the abdomen. So with that, let's say I'm talking to you, Allie, and I'm nervous because I'm on the internet, which I am.
Really?
I am.
See what meditation does? He's got such a calm energy.
Oh, and we can't talk about it. Come visit me. We'll talk about it in person.
We will. Come visit us. I will be at Root Healing Center for an upcoming retreat. So come join us for meditation. That's all the time we have today. But we were so thankful you were here, and thanks for all the wonderful information.
Thank you for having me.
We hope you'll join us again next week for more mindful living. And until then, we wish you peace, health, happiness, and wellness from the inside out. Namaste.
This is TFNN